Lady Mary Wortley Montagu arrives in Istanbul, her eyes captivated by the magnificence surrounding her, the grand architecture, the rich colors of the marketplace, and the elegance of the city's women create a vision unlike anything she has ever seen. Lady Montagu describes her first impressions. The British Embassy is located in Pera, a district much like Westminster in London, a place just outside the city's heart, yet offering a perfect vantage point. From here, one can gaze upon the harbour, the city itself, the magnificent palace, and even the distant mountains of Anatolia. It is, without question, one of the most beautiful views in the world. Lady Montagu reflects on the city's cemeteries. I am astonished by the immense spaces dedicated to cemeteries. These lands once belonged to ancient towns, yet now they are reserved for the departed. The Turks hold their gravestones in great reverence, seeing them not as mere markers of death, but as enduring monuments of honor. Some of these gravestones are truly magnificent, their craftsmanship exquisite. Each bears a turban, signifying the rank and status of the deceased. Women's tombs, though simpler in design, stand as graceful columns. For young maidens, a rose symbol is delicately carved into the stone, a tender representation of beauty and innocence lost too soon. She describes her growing fascination with collecting rare artifacts. My collection of Greek medals continues to grow, much to the bewilderment of the local antiquarians. They assume that only scholars and collectors of great renown would have any interest in such treasures. Among my most prized possessions is a rare medal, exquisitely crafted. The details are so precise that one might think it had been engraved by the gods themselves. The antiquarians, however, are not always well versed in their trade. I once came across a medal bearing the likeness of Socrates, yet the dealer insisted it was St. Augustine. Their eagerness to sell often outpaces their knowledge of what they hold. She recounts a strange tale. There is a certain mummy, acquired by the King of Sweden, that has become the subject of much speculation. The Turks believe it was taken with sinister intent, fearing it to be an object of dark magic. As a result, they have had it locked away in the dungeons of Yedikula. It is a curious thing to witness how different cultures interpret objects of the past. I wonder, should I one day acquire such a relic myself, whether it might pass unexamined or meet the same fate? Through her letters, Lady Montagu provides us with a rare window into 18th century Istanbul. Her observations capture not only the grandeur of the empire, but also the subtleties of daily life, the mysteries of its traditions, and the intricate ways in which different worlds collide within this extraordinary city. Lady Montagu describes her structured yet peaceful life in Istanbul. Dance, folk songs, and sunlight bore me. I find myself longing for the fog and absurdities that you complain about. Nevertheless, I do my best to believe I am living in a pleasant change of scenery. On Mondays I go partridge hunting. Tuesdays are for reading English literature. Wednesdays, I study Turkish. I have made significant progress. Thursdays, I read the great classical authors. Fridays, I write. Saturdays, I spend time sewing. Sundays, I receive guests and enjoy music. She contrasts her life in Istanbul with the monotonous social obligations of England. This routine is far more enjoyable than the endless engagements back home, attending court on Mondays, visiting Lady Monhun on Tuesdays, going to the opera or a comedy play on Wednesdays, and paying social calls on Fridays. Here, my time feels more my own. Lady Montagu critiques the inaccuracies in Western accounts of the Ottoman Empire. They speak with great authority about mosques they have not even dared to peek into. The Turks, being a proud people, do not engage with those who hold no distinguished rank in their homeland. How, then, can one trust accounts that claim to capture the spirit of an entire nation, yet are based on conversations with the common folk alone? Lady Montagu shares her experience with the much-coveted fragrance. The scent of the Kaaba is incredibly difficult to find. Women in London and Vienna begged for it with great enthusiasm. When I finally acquired the best version and applied it, expecting an extraordinary effect, my face swelled instead. I fail to see why it is so highly praised. Lady Montagu reflects on the belief in magic among Turkish women. According to Turkish women, there are ways to make oneself loved without beauty. In England, we know nothing of such things. They believe in certain charms and spells, known only to them, that bind their desires to them completely. Being far from naive, I do not believe in magic. Yet last night, during a debate with a woman on the matter, she attempted to convince me with countless tales. She was most offended when I remained skeptical. Lady Montagu laughs at the thought. The women here insist that they do not deal with the devil, but that there exist certain potions that can make the heart feel love. If one were to bring a ship full of these elixirs to England, they would become rich beyond measure. Many women I know would pay a fortune for them. Lady Montagu reflects on the importance of motherhood in Ottoman culture. In this society, a woman who cannot bear children, no matter how young, is considered old. Just as noble lineage is required to become a Knight of Malta, a woman's beauty is measured by the number of children she has. Many of the women I know have no fewer than 12 or 13 children. The older ones boast of having 25, even 30. The more children they have, the greater their prestige. Upon seeing a pregnant woman, they say, "Inshallah, may it be twins." When I asked how they managed to feed so many children, they simply replied, "Half of them will die of the plague." It seems they find solace in the idea that through numbers, love and loss remain balanced. Even the French ambassador's wife and I have had to conform. She has had one child within the year and is now expecting another. Yet, what I admire most about Turkish women is that motherhood does not deprive them of social pleasures. Unlike in England, where new mothers are often confined, here they adorn themselves in their finest clothes and rejoin society without delay. In this regard, I wish the climate would influence me, as it does them. Lady Montagu describes the Ottomans' surprising reaction to fire. Many families watch their homes burn with the same composure as one would sit before a brazier on a cold evening. There is no fireplace or stove here. Instead, they use a tanda, a wooden two-legged box filled with hot ashes. They drape it with a fine carpet or embroidered cloth, stretch out their feet beneath it, and read or work in comfort. If they fall asleep and the tanda tips over, disaster follows. Recently, such an accident led to a fire that consumed nearly 500 homes. What astonished me was their indifference. They quickly loaded their belongings onto boats, watching the flames with remarkable detachment. Since their houses lack staircases leading downward, they are rarely in personal danger. It is as though they have accepted fire as an inevitable part of life. She reflects on her experience of giving birth in Istanbul. "My daughter was born 5 weeks ago. While childbirth in Turkey is not as difficult as in England, I cannot say I found joy in the experience. The difference between a cold in Turkey and the frailty of the English constitution is much like the difference between childbirth here and there. Here, no woman remains confined at home for a month after childbirth, as is common in England. Disliking unnecessary customs myself, I too resumed visits just 3 weeks later. Turkish women embrace their new roles without sacrificing their social lives, and in this, I find much to admire. Lady Montagu recounts her meeting with Hafize Sultan. Hafize Sultan, the sister of the deposed Sultan Mustafa, was forbidden from leaving the palace and forced into marriage with a high-ranking statesman. In her despair, she pleaded with the Sultan, saying she would rather die than endure such humiliation. Despite her protests, she married Bekir Effendi, a choice dictated by duty rather than love. She vowed never to belong to another man, honoring a promise made to her late husband. Yet, even in marriage, she carried the weight of grief, cherishing the memory of Sultan Mustafa above all else. My past happiness feels like a dream. I was loved by the greatest and most noble of men. He valued me above all others. Had it not been for my daughter, I would not have wished to live after him. Lady Montagu is struck by the wealth surrounding Hafize Sultan. Her attire was breathtaking, red silk, encrusted with diamonds from the collar to the hem, a belt of pure diamonds wrapped around her waist, and 3 cascading necklaces adorned with pearls and a magnificent emerald the size of a bird's egg reached down to her knees. No European queen possesses jewels as grand as these. The grandeur of the feast reflected the magnificence of the Ottoman court. Dish after dish of exquisite food arrived on golden trays, knives with diamond-encrusted handles, and the finest embroidered linens were offered to guests. It was a testament to Ottoman hospitality and splendor. Lady Montagu describes her admiration for Fatma Hanım. She seated me on a cushion, and we spent the entire afternoon in conversation. Her beauty was rivaled only by her intelligence. Gentle by nature, yet refined in manner, she carried herself with the grace of a queen. One of my companions, a Greek woman, suspected Fatma Hanım might be Christian. With a knowing smile, she replied, "You are not the first to say so. My mother was Polish, captured in battle. My father would often joke that she must have found a Christian lover, for I look nothing like a Turk." Her home, perched atop one of the city's highest points, offered a breathtaking panorama of the Bosphorus. Each room reflected the finest taste: winter chambers adorned with gold-threaded velvet, summer quarters covered in delicate Indian linens. Many European travelers have spoken of the East, but none have truly seen it. Unlike those who only observe from afar, I have lived among them, witnessed their customs firsthand. The women of the Ottoman Empire, far from being silent figures in the background, possess dignity, intelligence, and an independence unknown to most of Europe. Lady Montagu describes her discovery. "I have obtained a Turkish muhabbetname, a letter of affection, woven with hidden meanings. I have placed it inside a box and entrusted it to the captain of the Simimiot ship. With it, I send my own letter, hoping it reaches you safely." In Turkish poetry, every color, flower, fruit, and even everyday objects hold a secret meaning. Without a single drop of ink, they express love, longing, and even reproach through symbols alone. Pearl, Inchi. You are the fairest of all. Carnation, Karanfil. Like the flower, you waver in your decisions. Stamp, Pul. Find me a cure for my longing. Paper, Kat. I sigh for you hour after hour. Pear, Armut. Give me some hope. Kol, Kimmer. I would die so that you may live. Rose, Segul. I weep while you smile. Lady Montagu marvels at this silent yet eloquent form of communication. There are over 1 million such verses in Turkish poetry. They speak in colors, in flowers, in objects as small as a grape, or as simple as a piece of cloth. In this way, without ink, they send letters filled with love, sorrow, scorn, and even the latest gossip. And here I am, much like a restless commander, waging war in distant lands, while intrigues unfold in my own country. Lady Montagu reflects on the overwhelming linguistic diversity of the city. Mastering 10 languages is as impossible as a single man defeating 10 opponents at once, or a ruler governing 10 kingdoms flawlessly. In the end, I fear I will learn none at all. This place resembles the Tower of Babel. In Beirut alone, one can hear Turkish, Greek, Hebrew, Armenian, Arabic, Persian, Russian, Slavic, Wallachian, German, Dutch, French, English, Italian, and Hungarian. The sheer variety is exhausting. My household is no less diverse. The officers are Arab, my chambermaids are Russian, my servants are English, French, and German. My child's wet nurse is Armenian, and I have no fewer than half a dozen Greek attendants. My steward is Italian, and the janissaries are, of course, Turkish. The constant flow of unfamiliar words creates a strange effect. Yet despite their lack of formal education, these people learn multiple languages with remarkable ease. It is rare to find a man, woman, or even a child who cannot speak at least 5 or 6 tongues. Even children as young as 3 or 4 speak Italian, French, Greek, Turkish, and Russian with equal fluency. The wet nurses, often of Muscovite origin, pass on their own language as naturally as a mother tongue. It is a truth that would devastate many Englishwomen who, despite their halting French and broken Italian, consider themselves scholars of language. Lady Montagu recounts the Greek perspective on the city's landmarks. The Greeks insist that there is nothing worth seeing in Istanbul except for Hagia Sophia. Yet, I have seen many mosques that surpass it in both architecture and grandeur. The Sultanahmet Mosque, for instance, is far superior. Its gates are entirely made of bronze, a detail unmatched by any church. Almost every mosque contains small tombs, serving as the final resting place for the patron and their family. Candles burn there continuously, a symbol of eternal remembrance. Lady Montagu sheds light on a lesser-discussed community. The Armenians, spread across the empire, are devoted traders and staunch Christians, having adopted their faith through St. Gregory. More devout than other Christian sects, their strict adherence to religious customs sets them apart. They observe an astonishingly rigorous fast, lasting for 7 months of the year. They refuse even the smallest indulgence, believing that consuming anything other than vegetables, dry bread, or oil-free roots is a grave sin. Lord Montagu's interpreter has grown so weak from fasting that he is near death. Though his doctor urges him to drink broth, he refuses, unwavering in his faith. This severe discipline, in some ways, mirrors Catholic traditions. Lady Montagu expresses her astonishment at Armenian wedding customs. Nowhere else in the world have I encountered such peculiar marriage traditions. Marriages are arranged in childhood, yet the couple does not meet until 3 days after the official ceremony. During the ceremony, the priest asks the groom, "Will you take this woman, even if she is deaf or blind?" Only after his acceptance does the celebration begin. Upon arrival at her new home, the bride is placed in a corner, her veil remaining firmly in place. No one, not even her husband, is allowed to lift it. I could scarcely believe such a custom existed, yet I heard the same story from many. One young man tearfully confessed that his mother had arranged his betrothal long ago. Though he had never seen his bride, he could not escape the promise made on his behalf. He suspected she had a flaw, yet was bound by duty. I end my letter with this most unusual tale, a testament to the strange and fascinating customs of this land. Lady Montagu dispels the myths surrounding concubinage. You ask me for details about the lives of concubines. I will not repeat the gruesome tales told by Christians, for I have seen no such horrors. Though I am not Turkish, I must acknowledge the fair treatment these women receive. Contrary to popular belief, they are not mistreated. They are not beaten, nor is their condition worse than that of servants in other lands. They receive no wages, yet the money spent on their clothing far exceeds what we pay our own maids. And for those who argue that men purchase them with ill intentions, tell me, is the nature of such transactions any nobler in great Christian cities? To claim moral superiority while turning a blind eye to the injustices of one's own society is the gravest hypocrisy of all. Lady Montagu challenges the accuracy of previous travel accounts. Most travelogues about Istanbul are either mistaken or entirely biased. Many travelers never see the true city, content to linger in Beyoğlu, Galata, and Tofane, Christian districts separated from the heart of Istanbul by water. Their understanding is incomplete, distorted by distance. The requirement for women to wear a veil frustrates many European visitors. I know of the French ambassadress, who, unwilling to adopt the custom, saw nothing of Istanbul beyond the embassy walls before returning home. Unlike them, I embrace this custom. It grants me the freedom to explore unseen. Lady Montagu marvels at the landscape. The Bosphorus is unlike anything I have ever seen. On the Anatolian side, villages exude a peaceful charm, while the European shore rises majestically with palaces and mosques atop its 7 hills. The city appears far larger than it truly is, its uneven terrain creating an illusion of vastness. Gardens, cypress trees, palaces and mosques all blend harmoniously, as if carefully arranged in a magnificent display case. No European king possesses a palace as grand as this. It extends toward the sea in a vast, asymmetrical design, its gardens filled with towering cypress trees. 6 immense courtyards divide the palace, each with a specific function, housing guards, servants, cooks, scribes, and high-ranking officials. The harem, too, is a world of its own. Gaining entry to Hagia Sophia was no easy task. It required 3 separate petitions before the Grand Mufti finally granted me permission. Inside, I was struck by its immense marble pillars and golden mosaics, far from the defaced ruin many European writers had described. Contrary to what is often claimed, the Ottomans did not destroy the Christian imagery. They preserved much of its grandeur, respecting its history. I even saw the tomb of Emperor Constantine, honored and left undisturbed by the Turks. It is a clear sign of the respect they hold for the past. Though Hagia Sophia is magnificent, I find many Ottoman mosques to be even more aesthetically pleasing. The Süleymaniye Mosque, in particular, is a masterpiece, its square foundation perfectly balanced, its 4 supporting domes framing the central dome with mathematical precision. Inside, the symmetry is breathtaking. Marble columns stand tall, gilded screens enclose the Sultan's prayer chamber, and richly woven carpets cover the floor. Countless lamps hang from the ceiling, casting a soft glow over the sacred space. Unlike in European churches, where religious imagery dominates, here, divine presence is felt through words, inscriptions of the Almighty's name replacing human figures. Most Ottoman mosques follow a similar layout, yet each has its own unique grandeur. The largest among them, the Valide Sultan Mosque, is an exquisite structure of pure marble, built by Sultan Mehmed IV's mother in honor of Ottoman women. No European cathedral can compare. Lady Montagu observes the remains of the past. The Atmaydana, once the great Byzantine hippodrome, still bears traces of its former glory. At its center stands a column of 3 entwined serpents, their mouths frozen open in eternal silence. No one can say with certainty why it was placed here, though the Greeks, never short of imagination, have woven countless tales around it. A second monument, an obelisk covered in Egyptian symbols, was likely brought from the sands of Egypt to stand here, a relic of an empire long gone. Lady Montagu concludes, many travelers speak of Istanbul, but few have truly seen it. They remain on the outskirts, blind to the city's heart. I, however, have wandered through its mosques, its palaces, its hidden corners. Unlike others, I do not merely repeat what I have heard. I tell what I have lived. Lady Montagu reflects on the nature of history and perception. Customs may change, and details may escape the traveller's eye, but the structure of governments remains largely the same. For this reason, I see little point in describing the Ottoman administration, the shipyards, Yedikul, or even the mosques, as so many have done before me. However, I must correct a mistake made by Gemelli, who falsely claimed that no trace remains of ancient Chalcedon. To verify this, I took a boat across the water. Contrary to his account, the city still thrives. Mosques now stand among its streets, yet its Christian inhabitants have preserved its ancient name, while the Turks have given it another. Between Istanbul and Chalcedon, the sea itself is a wonder. Along the shores, the Turks have built their summer palaces, over 100 of them standing side by side, a testament to the region's unmatched beauty. The Ottomans are not the savage people the West imagines. Their pleasures may differ from ours, but that does not make them inferior. They understand how to enjoy life, indulging in music, fine food, and leisurely evenings in their gardens. In contrast, the people of the West spend their days in endless toil, forever seeking new forms of governance, consumed by ambition. But when old age and death arrive, what has it all been for? I would rather be a rich and ignorant gentleman than the great scholar Isaac Newton. The bathhouse is the heart of a Turkish woman's social life, a place of both leisure and ceremony. The most splendid of these is the bridal bath, where the young bride arrives with her friends and family, adorned with jewels and accompanied by song. They welcome her with lavish gifts, embracing the occasion with a freedom and joy that would surprise many Europeans. These women are far from oppressed. Yet, marriage is not without danger. A woman caught in adultery faces severe punishment, often at the hands of her own husband. Just 2 months ago, near my home, a woman was found stabbed to death, a crime pursued not by the courts, but by her family. Still, fate has its peculiar twist. I have met a woman from Naples, taken captive by the Ottomans along with her brother. Though her ransom was paid, she chose to stay, captivated by the kindness of an admiral who married her. When he died, she became one of the wealthiest widows in the empire, and later wed the Grand Admiral himself. Such stories remind us that Ottoman men, far from the ruthless barbarians some portray, can be as generous as they are powerful. Soon, I must leave Istanbul. I have grown accustomed to its language, its air, its rhythm. Though I love to travel this time, I embark on my journey not alone, but with a family and a young child in tow. The road ahead is uncertain, but curiosity drives me forward. I have roamed its streets, veiled in secrecy, exploring every corner my curiosity led me to. Many travelers repeat old tales, but I have seen the truth with my own eyes. Western writers depict Turkish women as prisoners, yet nothing could be further from the truth. They are freer than their European counterparts, spending their days in visits, entertainment, and fashion. Here, it is the woman who spends and the man who earns. A husband who suggests financial caution is deemed mad. Istanbul is not what the world imagines. It is grander, freer, more alive. And now, as I leave it behind, I carry with me not just memories, but truths that few will ever know.